Right, we're joined now by Fashola, who is a CEO of business advisory firm KEDARI Capital. Thank you so much for joining us on News Night tonight. Well, first, let's get your reaction to the raiding of bureau de change across the country, especially here in the FCT, and the arrest of Binance executives. To what extent really have these affected the economy negatively?
Thanks for having me. It's been a very eventful week or few weeks in Nigeria right now, and indeed we can see that the government is taking, all the right steps in the right direction. The bureau de changes have not been effectively regulated in the past few years. We had a time where they were more stringent in working with them, and that was during the time of, I think, Sanusi, where the CBN was selling money to the BDCs, and the BDCs were being monitored and regulated in how they disbursed or sold out the currency that was given to them. In the last 3 years, where that has stopped and it's been more of OTC transactions, I would say that the BDCs have, a few of them, quite a lot of them had gone rogue, and they just go with what the market is doing. And, we haven't had a lot of government structure around them. So this is the new policies around BDC regulation and also selling US dollars through the BDCs is bringing more structure to the FX market. And I'm sure that the operators would welcome it. They would welcome the intervention by government. They would welcome receiving funds directly from government and being a conduit for funding the economy.
Okay, now let's see if there is a nexus with what we're seeing now with the Binance as well as the BDC with yesterday's MPC. We have to go back to the meat of MPC so that we can now start looking at whether these are reactionary moves by the government.
So, what do you want us to talk about? Do you want us to talk about the Binance issue and the executives arrested and all of that?
No, I'm trying to look at the crux of the matter at yesterday's MPC and see if we can actually draw a line to what's happening at the moment.
I think what the government is doing is adopting a multi-pronged approach to dealing with what we have had, the FX crisis, the Naira devaluation crisis that we have had. Because we've had unprecedented slide in the value of the Naira. We've had a situation where sometimes in the morning, you're talking of a value in the morning, and by evening it's gone up by like 50 Naira. That has been unprecedented in the history of Nigeria. We've had Naira devaluation, but never like this. So of course the government had to take decisive action, and that is what we're seeing. And what they've done is to attack it from various angles, which is good, because really it's a hydra-headed problem. So the only way to do it is to cut off all the heads of the monster. On the issue of Binance, I've always had a problem with cryptocurrency trading and the whole cryptocurrency ecosystem because of the lack of transparency. Once you have any form of financial engineering or system or ecosystem that does not lend to transparency, the opacity of that system lends it to manipulation, and because of the type of transactions that could be done through such platforms, it did open our economy to currency manipulation. There was a lot of buying and selling of currency going on that was not within the regulation of government. On the issue of the interest rate hike or the MPR hike, now that for me is a more meaty issue. All of those other issues, the crackdown on BDCs, the Binance issue, are all tactical actions that government had to take, and I hope that we have the desired result. On the issue of the increase in the MPR by 400 basis points, that I think is going to have a more telling impact on the economy. We expect that you know, or what you would expect when you do such a thing is that you would have what I see as the expectation of the CBN is that foreign portfolio investors would be interested in our market because they would see that there's an opportunity now to make more than over-the-top returns on their investments in Nigeria today from when that rate goes live. What you'll find is how this works. The CBN gives us an MPR of 22.75. The banks have to work with what they call the asymmetric corridor, which means that they place money with the CBN at minus 700 basis points, so like 15.75 thereabouts. And then they borrow money from the CBN at 23.75%. So when the banks take money from CBN at 23.75%, what happens with the monies that the banks would lend out? Banks would always lend out at about 400-500 basis points above what they get from CBN. So we're looking effectively at interest rates for lending to the real sector at close to 30%.
Right. If I may comment very quickly, back to the issue of, very quickly before we wrap this conversation, on the issue of the BDCs, how best sustainably do you think the Central Bank of Nigeria can regulate and monitor the activities of the BDCs now that it's resumed, you know, giving $20,000 to the Bureau de Change?
Okay, thank you. We'll swing into that. Before this new policies that came out regarding the regulation of BDCs and their capital adequacy and all of that, we had over 6,000 BDCs. So regulating them would be, it's a mammoth job for the CBN. Now that they have increased the capital required to run a BDC, quite a lot of them will drop off. So it will reduce the number of BDCs they're having to regulate. So I hope they'll be able to effectively monitor them. Secondly, the policies that they've released, they've given them guidelines that are very clear as to how the monies that is sold to them should be disbursed or sold and all of that. So we're hoping that we have a more structured market. We have less players. We have stronger players because it's only really by the time they're saying, you know, now that they're saying that they have to, before you only needed 20 million naira to open a BDC. Now they have to do it in the billions. So we're hoping that it's only the stronger players that will be left in the game and they'll be able to then put in all the necessary risk structures and the CBN would have the ability to govern them and monitor them and engage with them better.
Right, it's a good place to live in. Thank you very much, Ife, for joining us. Ife Fashola, CEO, KEDARI Capital.